pick up the recording and launch this meeting. And it, for Tales of Mike's Farm, tune in, that Mike, I think this actually should be a great, Aaron, you need to reach out to Mike and get him on the podcast here, because Tales of the Farm, are pretty exciting here.
Well, he was on the podcast 2 weeks ago.
There you go.
Right.
Anyway, welcome everyone here to June 11th, and it's going to be a rather interesting day. We've got a lot to cover just during the presentation, but Wendy Sue Wheeler will be joining us. She's actually in Spokane at a board meeting. She'll be stepping out of that board meeting to join us right at about 11. So I promised her that I'd warm up the crowd with some pesticide basics. So we will indeed get our continuing education hour in. But we'll have patience for Wendy to join us. Now, we're going to talk more about the Home and Garden Show and the plant sale later in the presentation, but a big thank you, by the way, to everyone who participated. A very successful show. Terry, Robin, Rhonda, any initial comments you want to share relative to the number of people coming, relative to overall impressions? And again, we'll have some detailed discussion about the financial results coming up in the presentation.
Is Terry on?
I am. I am on, and so are you.
You go for it, Terry.
Well, it was just a great show, and a big thank you to the 65 people, our members, who helped. And help is in a variety of ways, from contributing cookies, which adds to our bottom line. Some of our members were there for all 4 days, which is a real time commitment, but really, really helpful. So can't thank you enough, because it all makes it a successful event. We once again had great response from vendors who were there, even ones who didn't do well, like our show so much, they're already committing for next year for the show. I'm in the middle of doing our grant expenditure report, which is due next week. More deadlines, but it's an important part of boosting our bottom line. So I won't go into that, because it sounds like that's coming up later in the presentation. Rhonda, do you want to add anything? Or Robin, I know you're on as well.
No, it was such a pleasure to work with everybody that came. Honestly, if our volunteers don't know how much we respect and appreciate them, we just keep shouting it, because unless all of you participated, it wouldn't happen. I also got an email the other day from a gentleman who purchased one of the flowering baskets. He didn't say whether he purchased it before Mother's Day or if he purchased it at the fair, but they loved it so much they wanted to buy more. And where could he go to buy more?
Wow.
That was really cool. And as Terry said, I already had a vendor contact me who has not been in the show for the last 4 years, wants to be in, already booked themselves for it next year. So as exhausting and as tiring as this event is, and the horrendous cold I had for 10 days afterwards, it still warms my heart that we can all come together and put on such an event in our, what we consider small, depressed economy. We do really well.
I came home with a cold also, Rhonda. It was like, I was sick for days afterwards, couldn't talk.
You guys need to hang out with some preschoolers.
Probably.
You gotta boost that immune system.
Immunity, yeah. I just hang out with plants all day long, and they don't give me anything but pleasure. So,
oh goodness.
But yeah, I agree. The trainees were wonderful this year too. Like, there were so many trainees that just jumped right in, and some of them said to me afterwards, next year, just give this job to me, because I've figured it all out and I've got it all memorized, and you just give it to me next year. And I'm like, okay, I'm writing your name down.
Yeah.
But they were great. It was really good. And I too have vendors at the end of the show who said, I'll be here next year, you know, and they said, we didn't do quite as well this year as we did last year, but we don't care. We're coming anyway, you know, put us down. So it's really good.
We'll talk more about it later in the presentation, but again, thanks to everyone, you know, because it's a big deal. And mind you, as was indicated by both Robin and what Robin and Rhonda are saying here, is that it's a big deal for the economy. You know, there's a lot of vendors that participated. There's people that stayed over, you know, definitely over at the Stay Beyond Suites where we were staying. You know, there was a lot of vendors that were staying there. So from a boost to the economy, it's a big deal. And it's pretty exciting to think that we put this on just as our little podunk volunteer group that we are. Okay, so welcome to June 11th. So here we are in here we are in June. We've got a lot to go through in terms of announcements and updates. Wendy Sue Wheeler, the director of WSU's Pesticide Resource Center, will be joining us. She actually leads Washington State's Department of Agriculture Pesticide Advisory Board. So she's kind of a big deal. And we're having her on today as kind of a preview for the training participation that she'll be doing this Saturday. So I'll have Mike speak to that when we get back to that down to that calendar. But this is the time of year, of course, at which, you know, gardens are in full bloom, and and just as we were talking before we started the meeting, we're getting a lot going on here with a lot going on with pesticides and people that are asking us, what do I apply for the issues I've got to deal with? First off, some birthdays. Barbara, you're here with us today. Elizabeth, you're here. Happy birthday to you both. And Elizabeth, your birthday will be this weekend. Barbara, the weekend coming up. Alina and Teresa also have birthdays. But look at this, only 4 birthdays in the entire month of June. So it's interesting in terms of how many of our members have birthdays that are clumped in various months or spread out. A lot going on calendar-wise in June. Reminder that tonight is our board meeting. So the board of the foundation meets this evening at 5:30 p.m. Everyone is welcome to join that. We have plant clinics galore going on. Waco has a plant clinic, and we had last weekend. Training is this Saturday.
And we have one on the 29th as well.
Oh, that's right. In fact, that's excuse me. That was my error. I should have been a plant clinic at Waco on the 29th. My error, Bev. And at Saturday, we got not only into training, we had a plant clinic in Elma and a plant clinic in South Bend on Monday the 24th. So all over, we've got things happening. And and those calendar details, by the way, are published in e-news. Study group, June 17th, next Monday, is at the Elma Garden. And Midge, do you want to speak to the speaker that will be and the topic that will be the focus of that Monday study group?
Sure. The speaker is oh God, Cindy, and she is with Washington Native Plant Society, and she has quite a bit of knowledge about mosses. And people who are interested can bring mosses for her to identify or for us to help identify. We'll do a short walk in the garden and identify mosses that we find in the garden as well. And there will be some sort of refreshments. So please come. And
Great.
With reference to the last study group, I hope people have taken the opportunity to look at the YouTube video that's been published. Travis did an awesome job, and I am just so impressed with his garden and his efforts, and his creativity is just amazing. So please do watch that if you haven't, and please do come to the study group. It will be in the gazebo, rain or shine. And, it's outside, but it's covered. So we'll all be safe from the rain if it's raining. So anyway, hope to see you there.
So as Midge mentioned, the videos from last month's study group are posted. on our YouTube channel. So just go to youtube.com. You can search for Master Gardeners of Grays Harbor, Pacific County, and you'll find our channel. Subscribe to the channel and you'll see all the videos that are there. Mosses indeed are a very interesting topic. We get a lot of questions at our plant clinics regarding mosses in particular. You know, are they hurtful to our plants? What should I do about mosses? You know, moss in our lawns, especially down here in Pacific County, is a real nuisance given lawns and how much moisture we get down here. So that's going to be a very interesting study group and a very worthwhile topic. Well-timed, Midge, well-timed. Okay, so reminder about who we are, right? You know, we meet today as a general meeting of master gardeners here across our 2 counties. And the focus of the program, as WSU sponsors it, of course, is to make sure that research-based horticultural and environmental information is provided to the community. And I tell you, in the summertime, you know, when the plant clinics are full of our folks and when folks are visiting the demo gardens, I mean, we do reach a lot of people. In fact, that should be another shout out. Jude, I'm curious, do we have any count of the number of people that visited the plant clinic at the Home and Garden Show? Do we keep a count of the number of people that stopped by to actually chat with us regarding plant problems there?
Yes, and I'm sorry to say I haven't seen the totals, but we were busier than we've been for several years. I do know that just from, you know, my personal experience. I hardly had time to sit down. So it was great. Glad to see that people are coming back. I'd also like to say that our phone is working just wonderfully. We're getting so many calls that I think we probably would not have had somebody coming to an actual physical clinic at a hardware store somewhere.
That's
We're
a big
getting
deal.
calls.
And
It is a very big deal.
it really speaks to the mission, you know, that
Yes.
we exercise here. And that ties us back to the foundation. So as the foundation, we are a nonprofit corporation recognized by the state of Washington and the IRS. And so we are staffed, as the note says here, 100% by volunteers, and we provide 100% of the financial support for the program, because we get no support from WSU nor from our county governments for the program that we put on. And that includes, you know, all the exercises that we're going to be talking about here, the scholarship program, our program coordinators, and our activities. So it's a big deal to participate and to make things happen as we do. So our board, our 2024 board, reminder, Elizabeth leads us. Mike is our president-elect. We have our officers in various roles throughout the functions that we have in our bylaws. I encourage everybody, again, encourage everyone to participate in the board meeting. If you want to come tonight at 5:30, see what's going on. You know, check out our budget, check out our discussion, check out the official actions of the foundation. We are represented across our huge geography by 3 regions. And in Pacific County, it's Renee leads us, Val leads the Greater Grays Harbor Group, and Sushila leads Coastal Grays Harbor. And so you know, the 3,500 square miles that our 2 counties cover is a vast region compared to a lot of other counties. And so the idea of regionalization, so that you know, so that our carbon footprint of our Master Gardener program is more contained. So as we noted, you know, is that we self-support ourselves, if you will. We are still waiting word in terms of who will be our faculty liaison, connecting us with WSU Extension. That will happen, and we do expect to have feedback on that faculty liaison coming up in the next few months. Our coordinators, Wendy and Alina, are also master gardeners, as we all know, and so we support them. Alina is moving south because she wants triple-digit temperatures, you know, all year round in Reno. So you know, so she'll be departing here in 2025. So we indeed are on the lookout for a program coordinator, and would love to see you, you know, step up for that role. Either Wendy and Alina can speak to you about that role and the contact that goes on. Okay, reminder that our website has been redone, and it, you know, PNWMG still works, right? But it goes to pnwmg.mastergardenerfoundation.org. And so this is a much easier way and much cleaner format that a lot of people spend a lot of time making onto. And right on that home page, you see that MGV button takes you to the volunteer portal. And for there, right, all the information regarding minutes, bylaws, functions of the corporation are there. Give Pulse is also right there on the home page. And of course, this is where we record our hours. And as you know, as was noted, in the e-news this week, we had quite a significant number of hours that were collected and reported. You know, collected and reported to the to our commissioners. You know, we make a difference. I mean, I believe it was something like over 1,500 hours that was recorded thus far. And just for comparison, a normal work person over the year works 2,000 hours, 2,073 hours to be exact, actually, on average across a year, a 40-hour week and across a 50-week year. And you know, we've almost contributed the equivalent of a full-time individual in terms of volunteer effort for the program. Okay, so with that, let's lead it to other announcements. I'm going to pick up with my June to-dos. This is coming from Oregon State University. Oregon State picks up in terms of talking about trellising for all the vegetables that are going to need support for the growth. And of course, one of the things we can talk about, of course, is how innovative you can be with your trellises. Just again, a shout out to Mike for some of the most innovative trellising I've seen, Mike, around what you've done. Do you want to share any kind of your comments about your homegrown trellis technique based upon homegrown materials you choose?
Well, some of the homegrown techniques are more commonly called redneck engineering. And so you just use what you have on hand and make it work and use your imagination and learn from it. But it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of materials you can use, totally up to your imagination and just creativity. And it gets to be quite challenging, but and it isn't hard to do, and it's within everybody's realms. And so go for it.
But as we're talking here, it really makes a difference, right? Because if we don't support these plants, right, when they are growing, you know, they will suffer. And and perhaps, you know, the wind, of course, that we get here on the coast, the heavy floral heads, et cetera, could actually destroy your plants. So again, as part of our mission to help people be successful in their gardening efforts, right? You know, let's do all we can to help them encourage proper trellising. Maintenance and cleanup. People are talking here about pruning, you know, after the blooms are finished, of course, and plenty of fertilizing that needs to go along. And you know, thinning required. And reminder, of course, that June drop of apples, pears, and peaches, and thinning the remainder. This is, again, questions that we see a lot at our plant clinics here in terms of people asking, well, gee, what's happening, right? You know, is it my fruit trees are dropping their fruit? And I'm very alarmed. What should I be doing? And of course, thinning, this is a real challenge because you know, we've spent so much time and energy getting these little plants to grow initially. You know, we are reluctant to pull them out, but we've got to learn as master gardeners, right, to thin in order to improve yield and to make things happen. Lawn care, as I mentioned, nitrogen, you know, is at 1 pound per 1,000 square feet. It's amazing how that's you know, on one hand, you can argue it's not a lot of nitrogen versus yes, a lot of nitrogen, but you know, but it pays to think about fertilization application and fertilization standards. And again, we're going to be emphasizing this as we get into pesticide discussion later on. We need to pay attention to the label, pay attention to the application rates that are being recommended, and don't overdo it. Pest. We talked about, you know, the blossoms on squash and cucumbers will drop. That is normal, but there's plenty of other root weevil actions. There's plenty of other, you know, we're talking about some of these goose worms, the currant worms rather, that we were just talking about early on. The aphids that Aaron was talking about early on, you know, we'll be talking about IPM as we get into the pesticide discussion here. And again, this goes back again to our plant clinic discussions. How many people come up and ask us, the first question they ask, what do I want to spray? What can I spray to make everything go well? And it, you know, it's just, it's a sad statement, I guess, of where we stand as a society here, that we want to, you know, take the easy way out, you know, press a button on a spray can and make the problem go away. But there's not, this is our opportunity to introduce IPM to the public. Any other pest, by the way, that people are seeing? Karen, you're waving your hand frantically.
Yes. One of the things that you were talking about lawns, and, you know, read the label because it helps you. Read the label because it's the law. That's what we need to emphasize. It's the law to read the label and follow label directions.
And we are law-abiding citizens in our Master
That's
Gardener
correct.
program.
That's correct.
And we'll be talking more about that. Read the label as the law, which is an interesting reminder. I mean, it's often when, you know, when you say that to a client who walks up to a plant clinic desk, their eyes go wide, you know, because they actually, are you serious? What are you talking about? You know, yes, indeed, it is the law. Any other pest we need to be that are particularly concerned? Perhaps anything new this year that people are seeing? Anything in your gardens that are problematic? Okay. So other, in terms of pests, right, you know, OSU is at this point is encouraging us in the calendar to practice preventive pest management rather than reactive. And so this is an interesting, you know, to get ahead of the problem and think about, you know, complementary plantings of insectary plants that, you know, that would encourage beneficial insects. And a shout out, by the way, to the publication, the PNW 550, which everyone should be thinking about here, is that remember that 90% of all the insects in our garden are beneficial. And so we typically over clear the insects, you know, that would be instead very helpful to us in our quest for a pest-free garden. So lots of opportunities here to make sure that we're behaving properly and prudently in our pest control management. And that key point up early on, identify and monitor problems before acting, opt for the least toxic approach. You know, again, this is something that it's challenging to a novice gardener, you know, who just wants to, again, you know, find that right spray to solve all their problems. Planting and propagation, planting dahlias and gladioli, moving houseplants outdoors for their summer growth. So other opportunities going on. Any other comments regarding June to-dos? Any other practices that, you know, that we think we should be advising folks of as we get into the summer months and hopefully some reliably warm and dry weather? Okay. A shout out again for soil testing. Again, as we all know, soil soil amendments are so needed, and I was actually quite surprised that, and pleasantly so, that we did end up selling out our entire coir ton, literally 2,100 pounds of coir that we purchased for the Home and Garden Show were all sold, and it certainly makes a difference as an amendment into our gardens and our soils here. So I'm quite pleased that other people are picking up on it, and you know, and that we were able to move that much coir. We probably this is probably one of the biggest coir events in the Northwest, as our Home and Garden Show. Anyway, so at our two soil labs, reminder that the OSU lab list is far more aimed at home gardening. WSU Extension is far more aimed towards large agricultural commercial farms.
Yeah.
Okay. Other announcements here. I want to get into what we'll have time for a number of other announcements here, but I wanted to again go back and spend some more time on the Home and Garden Show because it was such a big event, and perhaps now on June 11th we're just now being able to catch up on our sleep and take a deep breath after what we achieved. The numbers speak for themselves. And again, it's about the people that we reach and the education we provide, the contact we engage. But at the end result, we need these funds to support our programs. And we netted nearly $18,000 is the net we will take home from the Home and Garden Show. And that includes, look at that, over $1,000 in cookies and contributions. Mind you, I want to make sure if people didn't know, Mike Carvia actually received a contribution directly from a visitor for his tool sharpening exercising that he was doing. So Mike, you're a profit center. You are a profit center there with your tool sharpening activity.
Well, I got to bring in about $66 is what it was, and had various donations throughout the day, and people were very generous and appreciative, and it was a very good learning experience. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're going to have an apprentice next year, Mike. You'll have so many customers, you won't be able to handle them all.
That is a good problem to have. Challenge accepted.
Lots of things going on. Planners, $4,300. Choir, look at that, over $2,200 in choir. Biochar, was interesting. We sold out of biochar very quickly, and surprisingly so. And I bought, again, a third more of biochar this year. So, the good news is word's getting out regarding amending your soil and paying attention to soil nutrients. Booth fees, of course, this is where Rhonda and Robin clean up almost $20,000 in booth fees secured from the vendors that participated here with us. So you add that, you balance that against the expenses that we invest in the program, and we netted almost $18,000. Terry, Sharon, any comments regarding finances, or or any other particulars regarding the financial side of the Home and Garden Show?
Well, so we will be getting our grant, which will add $5,000 to our total. The grant usually comes at the end of the year, and specifically what it pays for, because it comes from tourism, is our expenses for advertising, our printing expenses, and our speakers that are paid speakers that are at the show. So it will really add to our bottom line as well. Plus raffle tickets. I think there are still some outstanding raffle tickets and money that I need to get from people, because the drawing is going to be July 19th. So if you have raffle tickets still and money, please email me or call me or something, and I'll figure out how to get them from you. But this is more than we've ever made. And when you add it to our May sale, which I always like to do, that adds another $5,200 to.
In fact, let's just go right to there. Right, here's the
Okay.
here's the sale. Here's the sale for this is the day before Mother's Day, May 11th, and look at that, $5,200 is our net for that. I mean, think we sold more planters on the Mother's Day sale than we did at the show.
That's astounding.
Terry, yeah. So again, this is it. It's a big deal. Those 2 weeks in May that a lot of preparation goes into. So Terry, yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say, I think what was so exciting about the planters this year was the new styles that you created. I think that made a big difference. It gave people, an extra incentive to purchase another planter if they already have them, because the styles were really, really wonderful. So thank you, Kelly.
As Bev knows, we're already cutting out next year's. So next year's are already in production here. But again, go back to think about this. I mean, it really appears that the plant. This is this Saturday sale, both at Ocean Shores and at the Green on Ruckel House there. It's a thing. When you start thinking about this much money, and a shout out, of course, to Midge and to Marianne, because obviously friends of Midge and friends of Marianne were big buyers this year. So Midge, you want to talk about the promotion that you gave?
Well, your reputation precedes you, Kelly, because some people had bought planters in years before, and they were just rabid to get out to the greenhouse and get more planters. So it's just word of mouth. And you know, somebody sees a planter and then they go, where'd you get that? And then the next person and the next person. So yeah, I had quite a group of people that came to buy planters. Between Marianne promoting at the art gallery here in town and myself, we were able to get quite a few people out there. So our little Kinnikinnick Garden Club out here in Westport Grayland are big supporters too. So yeah.
So Sheila, any comment regarding the sale over at Ocean Shores?
Yeah, it was fabulous. I mean, we were there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't leave till 4. So a lot of people, and there was a lot of promotion on the local radio station and flyers all over. And so we did a lot of promotion, and we had signs everywhere up and down the main boulevard of Point Brown, signs out in front on the street. So the signage was perfect. So yeah, great sale, and it was great weather, and we had lots of volunteers, which was even better.
So again, it does speak to the number of volunteers we're able to reach, and and the number of public we're able to reach on that particular day. So again, a shout out to both activities. Terry, any other comments regarding the Home and Garden Show? Again, so it looks like we've got more funds coming in, the grant funds and the raffle ticket funds. And of course, as we noticed, this is the big event of the year. So it is so necessary to get these funds in, because we have a lot of expenses as a program.
Well, I guess I want to just thank well, it's hard to just thank a few people, because there were so many people that did so many things. But the publicity, I think, is really key. And it's really great that we have Shushila and Rick and Katie, who get on the radio stations and really promote our programs and our fundraisers, like the Home and Garden Show and the planter sale. I think that really helps. Also, we had a whole contingent who plastered the particularly Grays Harbor County with cards and flyers. Huge. I kept having to print more of the cards, which seemed to be very popular, and people pick them up in the stores. So that also, I think, helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Rhonda, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to add one more thing that I didn't see mentioned, and that was, I'd like to be sure we acknowledge Karen Young. She worked with me on getting the Facebook event posted for the Home and Garden Show, and just does a great job of staying on top of that little social media side of things that most of us don't think about. You turn your computer on and there it is. But it's Karen Young that's doing that all behind the scenes. And big kudos for her for taking it on and staying on top of it and doing a good job.
Bravo. Again, class of 2012. We kick Fanny, that's for sure. Okay. Jude, you taught us well.
It was a great class. You're right. A wonderful class.
Anyway, a big program, and the reason we spend so much time talking about it, just as we're talking about this, is that it's important for us financially. It's important for us from a volunteer perspective. It's important from us from a community perspective, because Jude, as you talked earlier, is that we do reach hundreds of people, and I definitely know from selling Choir and Biochar that we educate scores and scores of individuals regarding soil and regarding soil amendments, and so we're getting them thinking about how to be successful in the gardening activity. And so it's a big deal. It really is. So congratulations to us all for the achievement. Okay. So one of the things we do spend the money on is our scholarship. And it, as the E-News reported, that we have Nolan was given the scholarship and will be going to OSU to deal in forest management. So this is a great way in which we invest in the future through the monies that we raise. So congratulations to Nolan, but also to the team, right? To Karen, Patty, Mike, and Katie for the work in terms of promoting this and reviewing the applications and making things happen. So it's a good visibility for the program, and it should make us very proud that what we do and what we earn is being invested into the future. Karen, Mike, Patty, any comments as the scholarship winner or the scholarship program this year?
We had 3 applicants, which was better than last year. I think we only had 1 last year, and the person that applied was going to be a dental hygienist or something, and we felt that was too big of a stretch. Patty can correct me if I'm incorrect about this. And the year before, we had people that didn't complete the application process properly. So this is the first one we've awarded in several years. So that's kind of exciting.
You don't think that fungus in the mouth or bacteria in the mouth would be enough of a gardening activity?
We
Okay.
just felt that was too big of a stretch for, I mean, we've stretched it beyond mere gardening or forestry into ecology and environmental stuff. So I think that's just about as far as we could stretch it. But anyway, and the people that applied this year were all qualified, and that was heartwarming, and hopefully we have even more next year. And we would also like to have at least one more member, because we're an even number. And if there's any kind of disagreement, no, I shouldn't put it like disagreement, but if we're voting, we need to have an odd number. So if anybody'd like to be part of our committee, we would welcome them.
And it speaks to what a worthwhile cause this is, because it, in fact, this is, it's a big deal. I mean, with the cost of higher education these days, as it is, the fact that we're able to make such a substantial commitment to an individual is a great thing. And
it's a great thing, and it also is a really nice thing to put ourselves out in the public eye.
Very much so. Very much so. It's very visible to a younger cohort, for sure.
Yeah. Yes.
So again, volunteers reach out either to Katie, Karen, Mike, or Patty, and join the fund for next year.
Yes, I'd love to have them.
Okay, a shout out to the conference coming up. It's virtual this year. The state conference virtual this year at the end of September. Registration is open. Aaron, Karen, any comments regarding the link? I think is fairly straightforward, right? MG Learns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think they sent it out to everybody. I meant to register before our meeting today, and I didn't do it, so I could tell you exactly how it went. But maybe before the board meeting, I'll do that.
Okay. But obviously,
sorry, Kelly. Early bird registration does end June 30th. And you save $30 by registering before that day. So.
Right. And that's what I was going to encourage, right? So we've got this month to make that early bird registration, and the convenience of going virtual, right, is it's profound, right? So there should be it'd be great to see a huge contingent, right, from Grays Harbor, Pacific County participating in the conference this year.
One of the nice things about the virtual conference is that if you have a conflict, if something you want, if maybe there's 2 or 3 things that you want at the same time, you can just get the other two, go to one and get the other two later on, because you have so many days after the conference to view those sessions. So you could take every single thing they offered.
Right.
And there are
right.
36 classes total.
So no excuses for not getting your continuing education for
That's
2024.
Yes.
And that's a real key point to Karen, you're bringing up, is that the fact that the courses then are recorded, aren't available for viewing after the date, mean that you don't have to be there on the 27th and 28th exactly for those classes. You can still get every class you want.
Some of the sessions will be live. So there'll be live Q&A with the presenters, but those still will be available as recorded afterward. But there's also an episode of the podcast that went live today with the directors, Kathy Lamoureux and Debbie Bembo, that kind of gives a preview of the speakers and how the format is going to work. So if anybody's interested in that.
So again, a big shout out, mglearns.org, right? Or the link on the foundation, as you see right in there, or just do a search and you'll get to it here, and make sure that registration happens this month for your early bird. Put it on the calendar.
Also, Kelly, there is a call for nominations for the State Foundation for Master Gardener of the Year, a Media Award, and the Ed Lacrosse Award. And those are posted on the website, on the state website. And I would encourage anybody, if you have somebody in mind that does an awesome job, to go ahead and nominate them. We like lots of nominations. I'm on the awards committee. We like lots of nominations, and it's a real positive pat on the back for people that do so much.
And there are a lot of people in this foundation, in this group here, that do a lot. And so Erin has posted that link to the nomination along with her the podcast episode in the chat. So check those out. Make those nominations happen. And again, that we can, it sounds like we can bribe you, Karen, for a little extra at, if there's a particular candidate we want to encourage, right? You're making it clear that you are open to influence.
No.
Very good. Okay, on to other calendar activities. Of course, the demo gardens are in full swing, and this is a great opportunity. So Sheila, Bev, Jan, Val, any comments you guys want to make in terms of the support you're looking for, or any help we can provide to you in the various demo gardens and demo beds throughout the two counties?
I would like to mention that every Wednesday from 1 to 3, we have a weeding party at the Ilwaco Native Plant Garden. So if you are looking for something to do this coming Wednesday, you can join me at 1 o'clock down at the Ilwaco Native Plant Garden.
I would like to say that we planted all the demo gardens on the, we prepped them first a few days before, then we planted on the 31st. And Wendy suggested that one of our main focuses, even though we do have lots of food production in the community garden, but not specific to the master gardeners, we're doing food production, and we're going to see how fast whatever we planted turns over quickly. So we picked vegetables that were fast turnover growth and harvesting and turning them over to the food bank locally, which normally and we're doing this as an experiment. I think if Wendy's on the call, she could speak more to what she was asked from the Dan Totenberg or someone, that she wanted to experiment with this food production specifically out here. But speaking of food production, when we went on our field trip, there were 5 people from Ocean Shores that joined others for the Tokeland field trip to Travis's garden. And I don't know if you spoke to that already, Kelly, but he has food production out there that is unbelievable. A small farm that, and I think Kelly posted all the videos that I could take, and Mitch did an article, but his food production of the Shoalwater tribe is enormous, and they actually drive around to tribal members and distribute food, in the growing seasons. Right now, he's just getting started, of course. But it's a huge process he does out there with very few volunteers, I might add. So we're fortunate in each area of Grays Harbor and Pacific County that we do have volunteers we can pull from that they're unpaid volunteers. He has to pay a couple of staff people to do that. But fascinating food production out there, if anybody ever wants to go out there. And since we're a training site out here in Ocean Shores, hydroponics, we have a tour. Anybody's welcome to come this Saturday after the training class. We've invited all the trainees out here, but if anyone else wants to join us, we will go see a local resident here in Ocean Shores that has been doing hydroponics for several years now. But we're going to tour his garden, which is only minutes away from the library. And another source of methodology of food production. And out here on the coast, it's important because he can grow stuff all year round because it's indoors. So if anybody wants to join us after class on Saturday, very welcome to just show up at 219 Overlake in Ocean Shores at say 3:45, 4 o'clock, and we'll do a tour for an hour of his hydroponics garden.
So reach out to Sushila for a post-Saturday training, tour.
Mm-hmm.
Jan, Val, any comments from South Bend or Elma?
This is Jan, and South Bend Garden is making progress, but I'd like to refer everyone to Renee's invitation in the e-news. It was amazing the last time we had extra volunteers coming down from Grays Harbor. We got so much done. And even though we're making progress, there is still so much more to go. So if at all possible, please join us.
Yeah. I'd like to say something about Travis. He was the class of 2012.
That's right.
Proves your point, Kelly, huh? I think it's really amazing. I'm really glad to hear about the hydroponics in Ocean Shores too. People on the coast have traditionally had a difficult time raising food crops, and yet we're having lots of success in various spots up and down the coast. I guess maybe where Travis is, it's considered a little bit of a banana belt, but not tremendously so. So that he's having that much success is really marvelous. I'm glad everybody was able to go down there.
And again, a shout out to Sushila for the videos that she took. They are posted on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Well, in Grays Harbor, we're still feeding the food bank. We've over 300 plants have gone out to people to grow their own food, some of their own food anyway. Just barely started on produce. Our first crop, strawberries. First delivery was this past week. So we have a lot of people who are participating in producing the plants, growing the seedlings, and more and more people who are actually working in the plant clinics at the food banks. And that's in addition to, of course, our regular food plant clinics that are being held at Bayview and other places in the county. So busy time.
Wendy, I see you're on, and Sushila asked if there was any comments you wanted to make regarding food production and the comments, your discussion with Dan.
Yeah, the whole food production thing is actually an educational, because that's what our organization does, is educate, is to actually have, WSU would like us, as part of the Staying Mission Driven, have a workshop that actually teaches people how to grow their own vegetables, and then have those people that are participating actually take a survey, and then WSU, and the survey is it goes straight to WSU. And then in 6 months, WSU will contact those people that participated in the workshop and see how they're using the information. And then they also contact them 18 months later. So this year it is the food, one of our, the categories we have, programs we have, and next year we're going to add more to that because they have lesson plans and stuff. So anyway, I know we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but that's kind of the background of it. And I've been trying to talk to each of the areas, and probably Elena as well down in South Bend area, about the workshops that we would like to do. Hopefully this fall, because they want us to do one workshop. Unfortunately, we had already done some workshops, but those don't count at the moment because we can't, get the surveys from the people. So we're looking at having at least one more workshop. Ocean Shores has said that they will participate, and I'm really hoping the Montesano and Elma area will want to participate in one as well. So if you have any questions, let me know, but I will be getting more information out. But you're also welcome to watch the video on the Staying Mission Driven from WSU, the YouTube, but it gives a little bit more information as well.
If you want to put that in that link to that in the chat, Wendy, it might be good we can get some discussion going on this.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly.
So coming up, July 20th, the next big thing, right, is the garden tour. It is in Pacific County. Both Renee and the South Bend Garden and Jan's place are on the tour. As was noted in the e-news, right? This is the time to be thinking about signing up for volunteer shifts, 3-hour shifts, throughout that day. It's a big day. And some very interesting gardens that Terry and Sharon have found. Terry, do you want to comment on the e-news article and the need for volunteers?
Well, we do need a couple more garden reps, which requires just a commitment of a couple more days to help out. But we also need just lots more people to be docents in the garden. Each of the gardens needs approximately six docents, 4 to 6 docents, including the garden rep, split into 2 shifts. So it's basically a 3-hour shift, and you get a ticket so that you can see you can spend the rest of the day visiting the other gardens. So that's your incentive, a free garden tour ticket. Plus, it's just a very rewarding day in these gardens. They're all different. We always try and have a mixture of what these gardens have to show, and for our attendees to learn more about different types of gardening. So some focus on vegetables, like Jan's garden does. She's doing some really interesting experiments in her garden. We have another garden that is a low maintenance garden. This person designed her garden from scratch and has in mind the fact that they want to travel, and she doesn't want to be tied to her garden all the time. So anyway, there's lots of interesting things on this tour. The demo garden beds in South Bend will also be featured in the ticket booklet on the tour. So therefore, there's this push to get as much cleanup done in the garden as possible. And I was there yesterday, and I think it looks really good. It's really coming along well. Anyway, lots of help needed. Rhonda, do you want to talk about the plant sale?
I'm, I think most everybody probably saw it in the e-news, but the plant sale will be held on the property of Renee down in South Bend. And so for those that are accustomed to bringing their plants to or near the sales site the week before, my computer's going to die. Sorry, gang. Hold on.
As I'm noting here on the slide, right, what was
Sorry.
included in the e-news, right, was your mention about, the emphasis on natives and the emphasis on
Yes.
making sure we have some multiples, right,
Thank you. And that's really all you need to know at this point until the July e-news comes out and we have all the coordinating efforts put together. But volunteers are always welcome. And I'll be reaching out later to get those names all lined up.
And as we know, this is kind of a big deal. People like buying plants from master gardeners, right? And this isn't.
They do. They really do. So put your best foot forward and get things potted up and ready to go.
And it's an easy $2,500, right? That we bring in from this effort.
Yep.
So let's make it all happen. And I assure you, Rhonda, I've already got about 100 ready to bring up. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so as has been mentioned, training is this Saturday, and Mike, you've got the day is a big day, given everybody's efforts and contributions going on. Do you want to give a preview for what we're going to be talking about and what's all going to be covered?
Well, I sure do. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, as you said, it is a busy day. Lots of activities, lots of education and training going on this day. Multitude of instructors. We've got Wendy Sue Wheeler. We'll be talking about pesticide use and safety, and also the WSU pesticide agreement is on the agenda. And following up with that will be Alice Slusher talking about integrated pest management. After lunch will be Mary Fee from the Washington State Noxious Control Board talking about weed ID and control in invasive species. Then I get to follow up with Firewise talking about fire resistant landscaping, and the basis of the information I'll be presenting is protecting your home. What is it that you can do to protect your home and customize it towards your use? Because as we know, what's going to work for you isn't going to work for me, and every location is customized. After that, then Wendy Bulmer had asked as the program director to bring up some information for the trainees. And this will be held at all 4 of the training sites. It's going to be a busy day, a lot of activity, and it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. And so are all the other guest instructors.
It is one of the most impactful training days, given all the information that's going to be packed into this day, and the activities that are going to be going on. And
I had actually asked for permission to take out herbaceous plants. That was on the menu for the day too, but it kind of didn't flow with the theme of the day and everything else. And Elena was kind enough to let me take that out, which provided more time for everybody else. But still, it's a very busy day. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And so, you are welcoming master gardeners to join for continuing education, correct?
Yep, if you would please, that's most appropriate to be part of the team. Even better, come on in to one of the 4 training sites and participate with the trainees, participate with the assistants and the training site coordinator there. So come along and participate and see what's going on. So yeah.
So reach out to you, Mike, if there's questions, or comments regarding the day. But it's a great day, and I hope a lot of people can participate, not only for helping the training along, but also for edifying the information that's going to be shared and discussed.
Yep, there's going to be, like I said, it's a busy day, lots of information that's not quite all over the place, but it's so varied. And the information from these subject matter experts that are presenting the information lends a lot of validity to it. Wendy, Bulmer, is there anything I've forgotten about participation from the anybody else coming in? And what is it that they get to document on Give Pulse?
Well, program support is part of it, but when they're listening to the guest speakers, it is the continuing education, except for not for the trainees, but for any other certified master gardener. And also, I might add, if anybody is interested, we love to have people in person there to support our trainees. We're all a team, so as many people that want to show up at any of the training sites, please do so. And we're having a pre-training meeting tomorrow at 3. And you're welcome to come so that you kind of walk through everything, so you understand what's going on that day, so everything goes smoothly. So if you're interested in coming to the Zoom, let me know. I sent out the link. I'll send it out again, but I don't know exactly who all, other than the people that have been participating, who all want to go. But again, we would just love to have anybody and everybody there, because it takes all of us. It takes a village. So thank you.
So Wendy, you may want to push that Zoom invite for tomorrow, 3 o'clock out in the chat. But that's a key point, is that a big part of what we do as a foundation is meet for the social connectivity and the social connections that we establish as part of this program, and are very important to members' continuity and the enthusiasm of participating in the program. So demonstrating our commitment to the trainees by participating in the training with them is a big deal. It has lasting impact on the trainees' retention and enthusiasm for the program.
Great.
Now, to that point, this is part of it. This is part of my warm up for Wendy. As I mentioned, she'll be joining us here very shortly as she steps out of a board meeting in Spokane that she's actually leading. It's a big deal getting her to participate in the training this Saturday and having her join us here today, and that she's actually covering for a couple of other positions that are vacant inside of WSU Extension right now. But as a professor of entomology and the leader of the WSU's Pesticide Resources and Education Program, and this covers for the entire state, so she is kind of a big deal, So the refresh, I wanted to make sure that we're prepared when we start talking about this. I wanted to get into some reminders and some common questions that we definitely are going to be hearing about and seeing as we get into this, as we get into the plant clinic season with all the public. First off, a pointer to the WSU website on pesticide education programs. That's pep.wsu.edu, as you can see on the screen right here. And there are volumes of resources throughout all of this, and in particular, the videos are pretty impressive in terms of what's available. A shout out to WSU for the preparation that they're having here. Noting that indeed a big audience they're trying to serve are the thousands of ag workers across the state who need to be educated in all these programs. And Wendy, I see that you've joined us here now, and I'm just going through a couple of overview slides, but I'll be happy to do whatever you direct me to do if indeed there's some comments you want to make. And some slides you want to show, or some websites you want to go to.
So I apologize for being late. I'm in a meeting in Yakima that was having all kinds of technical difficulty, but I was in the middle of an update from Washington State Department of Agriculture that was talking about changes in agriculture and a lot of artificial intelligence. So I apologize for being late, but if I could share my screen, that would
exactly.
Be great.
I will make this happen for you, and I definitely want to definitely make note that you know we're thrilled to have you here, Wendy, and I so much appreciate you taking the time available, just jotting out from your board meeting here to join us here this morning.
Well, it's great to be here. I love Master Gardeners, and I love all the interactions that our program gets to do with Master Gardeners. You all are out there making such a difference, hands-on, and we want to support you in any way that we can. So let me share my screen here. Do you see my presentation?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Kelly, you're still sharing.
Oh my goodness, there you go. My fault. You're open now. You're on. You're on. We got you.
Got it? Okay, great. Let me see if I can. Great. So my name is Wendy Sue Wheeler. I am the director of the Pesticide Resources and Education Program here at WSU. So a little bit about me. I've worked on hands-on core with the Pesticide Safety Education Program for now going on 16 years. It's a passion that I have, and I was lucky to come into the program here at WSU, and now very honored to lead it. 12 years prior to that, for 12 years, I took a deep dive into pesticide registration with the Washington State Department of Agriculture and learned every aspect of pesticides from that perspective. I really believe in strong national interactions for pesticide issues, because what's going on in other states could impact what we're doing, or what we're doing I want to share with other states. I'm just back from DC last week, where I got updates fresh on what's going on with labels and certification and training and Spanish labels. And also I'm very big on being stewardship of pesticides, from where you pick it up to when you throw it in the garbage can. You are responsible for pesticides, knowing before you even pick that pesticide up off the shelf, can you meet and follow that label? Because if you purchase it and then take it home and you can't follow it, now you're dealing with the waste, and we have to deal with that. So I'm very, very big on stewardship of pesticides, not only here in Washington State, but across the country. So many of you are probably, maybe, I don't know, be familiar with the Urban IPM and Pesticide Safety Education Program that has been very strong for 30 years. And then also the Washington State Pest Management Resources Program. Those were both strong programs for 30 years, and both of the directors of those retired. And the entomology department decided to merge those into one program. So it was a unique experience to me as my son graduated from high school, and I kind of wondered what to do with life, that it took my background of pesticide safety education and my background of pesticide regulatory and put it together into this new director position. So I love that. So our program does in-person webinar, on-demand, pre-license and recertification courses to get people ready to be a licensed applicator. We do study materials to help people get ready for that. We have the Pickle database management. It is a free searchable database to the public. There's about 28,000 labels that we manage, and we put our hands on about 46% of those labels every year. So our program is moving and shaking with that. We have publication review. So anything that comes through WSU, our program looks at it and makes sure that it's meeting WSU's policies and procedures, the label itself, state, federal, all those different regulations. Our program looks at, you know, if a document is going, a blog is going up, we'll look at that blog. If they have something that they're talking about research and sending it out to the public to let people know what a new use of a pesticide, our program looks through that and make sure that it's registered and that it's a proper use. So about 6,000 publications that are 6,000 interpretations that we look at per year. And then we are also starting a Spanish program. So that's a new focus of our program. It's one that was very clear to me as I interviewed for this position that we needed to move forward with Spanish. So we are working with landscapers in particular with Spanish trainings. So this, I'll just throw this up really quick. You don't have to go, I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is what the program is is immersed in and doing and a part of. So quite a bit. Here's our team. We're housed in the entomology department. We have full support in the entomology department. They've been instrumental in this pivot in the program and making us strong and making sure that things work and how we can do it. And then this is all of our team. This side, these people are Spanish. These are the resources, so pickle. And then this is pesticide safety education. So let's get down to what you all asked me to come talk about. So I really liked that I walked into a really great talk about our videos that are on our website. What a great resource for people. And it's a resource for our program as well. As I onboard new people, those videos are great for our people as well. So in regards to Master Gardener resources, the Master Gardener has a resources page. Remember that the pesticide recommendations may only come from WSU approved and reviewed references. That's really an important to know. So there's a lot of resources for Master Gardeners. I just kind of throw some of these up. They have the Master Gardener, so there's the website for the approved references. There's Hort Sense and Pest Sense, which I'll talk about. There's the Pacific Northwest Disease, Insect, and Weed Management Handbooks, which I'll talk about. So with the disease and insect management, you'll look up chemical recommendations, and if they're marked with house, then they can be used. So they have the WSU gardening publications, which are great resources, pesticide leaflet series, and then at the end, I'm going to talk to you about our pickle, which is housed in the prep program. So a lot of great resources out there for Master Gardeners.
Wendy, just a quick question if I can. So our OSU references, so I was struck by the WSU approved references, right? So for pesticide management. So is Oregon State, which manages the pesticide hotline, are those references and those okay as well?
So Oregon, to NPIC, which is great, I should have added it to this, is an excellent resource, especially for Master Gardeners, and definitely approved. It's a so great thing to bring up, Kelly, and I'm going to look into that because I've never been asked that question, but I definitely use NPIC as a resource. And the strength of NPIC, I even use it within our program, is that it's funded federally by the Environmental Protection Agency to be a resource for people who have questions about pesticides. And they are trained in risk communication and pesticides. So they're available to, call up on the phone or send an email on questions that people have with pesticides. And then they have a plethora of great resources for people in regards to specific pesticides. So active ingredient you can look up to see, I get asked a lot, how does this impact me? I'll look up in NPIC. I'll use NPIC as a resource to see what the pesticides are and what the impact could be to human health or the environment. So a great resource, Kelly. Thank you.
And I put the link in the website, and I'm noting that that National Pesticide Information Center is actually managed by Oregon State, so it's nearby.
It is definitely managed by Oregon State University. I know them very well, and a lot of great people come out of that program and go into working at Washington State Department of Agriculture or Oregon State University. Who started out on they call them in-pickers, where they help. But it's a great resource. So a lot of times I'll get a phone call where someone's concerned about a pesticide and I'll share my knowledge, but it's a step further. It's a little more personal for them. I'll refer them to NPIC because that's what NPIC's strength is. That's what they are there for. And they are actually also on some small pesticide companies don't have the capacity to answer questions about their pesticides. So they actually use NPIC, and that's what's on their pesticide jug that says, if you have questions about our product, contact NPIC. So an excellent resource for you. And they have connections and who to contact in your local area if you need further investigation or whatnot. So a great resource. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So let's talk about, let me move this. It's right in the middle of okay. So let's talk about HortSense. So HortSense is more than 1,000 fact sheets that are provided to guide the homeowner, the home gardener, in the management of plant problems using integrated pest management, including cultural controls and Washington State registered pesticides. So you can search by type of plant, whether it be ornamental or small fruit or vegetable. Or you can look into weed disease, insects, garden pest, also more general fact sheets. So let's look at one of those. So you can look up snapdragon on with downy mildew. It'll tell you a little bit of the biology. So a great resource. I use this a lot when I'm answering questions too. And then it'll give you management options, including non-chemical and then the chemical management. So an excellent resource for master gardeners. Here's another one, or looking closer here at the chemical options. So this list may not include all products registered for the use, but it is one that our program goes through this list of what's listed out here and make sure that they are registered in Washington State. So. And then you have PestSense. So PestSense provides information on how to manage common indoor pest problems using integrated pest management. PestSense is a compilation of fact sheets for managing common indoor pest problems. So it's a search by category or insect. You can do beneficials, houseplants, nuisance and stinging, biting. So right here, if you click on odoriferous house ants, it'll pull up a nice fact sheet for you, a lot going on with the odoriferous house ants across Washington State. So it talks to you about the biology of it and then management, both non-chemical and chemical. So a great resource as well. So looking at the chemical management, there's quite a bit here. Once again, approved, reviewed, and approved by the PET program. The Pacific Northwest handbooks will first look at the disease and insect. So this is a comprehensive guide to insect management in commercial crops and environments and in home landscapes and gardens in the Pacific Northwest. It covers pesticide safety and toxicity, protecting bees, which is very important, adjuvants, mixing tables, calibration, and biological control. It's a great diagnosis aid and cultural control help, even when there are not pesticides that you can recommend. So a great resource for you. So you can look up apple and fire blight, then look at specific information. Here's another one. Now on this one, you have to make sure, we talked about in that one slide, that the ones that are available for you to use as a recommendation are the ones that have that H on it. And sometimes it's confusing. Some people may feel that the organic one can be used, but that would have to have an O and an H for the master gardeners to use. So Pacific Northwest insects, again, you search by plant, great resource. Sometimes the way it comes out looks a little different. So in this case, it says management chemical option control option C table. And then when you click on that, it pulls up the actual table for you. So just showing you that it could present it in different ways. Here's another one. So management of chemical control, home use. So you want to look for that home use. The Pacific Northwest weed management is a little different. So it's a comprehensive guide to weed management in the Pacific Northwest. It covers biology of weed control agents, pesticide safety and disposal, agrochemicals and their properties, and control of problem weeds. So on this one, you have to go into weed, and then you have to click on horticultural weed management, and then you click on home, garden, and landscape management. And then you click on the weed treatments available products for home gardens and landscapes. So that's where you're going to find information for you all. So in this case, it could come up as a table. So timing of applications, and then it'll tell you the different areas that you can use it on. So another resource is the Pickle Information, Pesticide Information Center online. It is managed and has been managed for with WSDA or WSU for over 30 years. The Pickle database is actually 30 years old. It's very, very old, and we call it Frankenstein, keeping it together. But the management of labels by Washington State University is something that's gone on for 46 years. It's an agreement that we have with Washington State Department of Agriculture and Oregon Department of Agriculture. And it's where we house all the pesticides that are actually have been reviewed and approved for use in Washington State. So a lot of times that the pesticides that you may see online are not ones that are available for use in Washington State, because here in Washington State, we take a really close look at impact to water, impact to the soil. You know, how's that pesticide going to travel in the soil? In northwestern Washington, we have a lot of soils that the pesticides they're sandy soils, so those pesticides can move pretty quickly and get into groundwater. So we have restrictions about use of pesticides here in Washington State, amongst many, many other restrictions in pesticide. So this is the landing page for Pickle. It tells you some important information about what the database contains and what it does not contain. For example, we don't list experimental use permits, which, you know, wouldn't be as important. It also tells you that any web labels in the database are for informational purposes only. They can't be used for a pesticide application. So here in Washington State, with all the restrictions, and even some restrictions coming down to the homeowner level, we want to make sure that what we're giving the homeowners is something that they can use. And Pickle is a great place to look at that and get information. Now it's not working, isn't it? Go on. There we go. So Pickle is a tool to help you identify products for different uses, types, and crops. You can actually, it's a free searchable database, so you can search for a certain plant, a certain pest. It's good for resistance management, not as critical in homeowners, though I know that a lot of products that I've heard in this area are not being effective on dandelions because they've been using the same product for so many years. So it could help you with that. You can manipulate findings into smaller groups of labels. So you may, when you get a search, it may be all these, but then you can refine that search to more what you need. You can review labels and find out which products can be used in a specific search situation or on a particular crop, or not plot, excuse me, crop site. So why it's helpful, so these are labels that come directly from Washington State Department of Agriculture. They're the ones that you're going to find in the marketplace. When you pick it up off the shelf, it will match or be very similar to what's in Pickle. And like I said, the ones that you find online, like if you Google and you find one on Amazon, may be different than what is actually allowed here in Washington State. So there's some products that we don't even allow here in Washington State. So, and the search functions are great once you get the hang of it. You know, so going into Pickle can be somewhat painful because, like I said, it's a 30-year-old database. But I will report that we received a specialty crop block grant to rebuild Pickle, and we are right in the process of rebuilding Pickle. So if there's anybody's used Pickle, and from a master gardener's perspective, if you have anything that you want to share with me, definitely reach out to me and let me know how Pickle could be more user-friendly for master gardeners. And we've heard in the past about some ask for master gardeners, so we're trying to incorporate that into our new build. So it's going to look completely different than what I'm showing you today, but it's not going to come out until September, October. So we're right in the middle of our busy season. So I'll go ahead and show it to you. But it is going to have it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be more like a Google search, and the information you're going to pull up is going to have pictograms on it. It's going to be, we're very excited about this new build. So let's look at Pickle. So if you go into the website itself, you can click on a quick search. And in that quick search, then you can select Washington because you want those Washington products. You can intended user home, and you can search by active ingredient, or you can search by the crop or the site. In the case, crops being agricultural crops, but that also incorporates if you're doing ornamentals or some kind of rhododendron, all of those will be in the crop. So the area that you're able to treat. Or you can search by pest if you want to search by aphids. Then once you click on that, you're going to see the product name and the EPA registration number that tells you the unique to the product. Then you can click on this Washington here, and it'll actually pull up the label for you. So now you're able to look at that label and see, is there a limitation? Is this the kind of pest product that I need? So I just think it's really great, especially here in Washington State with all our restrictions to look at that. But it needs to know that these are reference tools only. Like I said before, it's not for an actual application. The application has to be made by what's on that jug. So make sure you're following the pesticide agreement with that. If you have any questions whatsoever when you look at a label, call me. Definitely call me. Email me, call me, reach out to our programs. So why is it important to work on, I'll be quick here, but why is it important to know the label and what labels to recommend? So a lot of times someone may recommend a product by its brand name, what's on that label, instead of the active ingredient. But we have brand name issues, and Roundup is one of a good example of a common issue. Roundup is the brand name of a product. It's not synonymous with glyphosate anymore, a weed and grass pesticide. So Roundup, there are 6 Roundup brand products with no glyphosate whatsoever in it. So historically, it was glyphosate or Roundup. Glyphosate kills weeds and grass, but now that's no longer the case. It went off patent. So we have some that's an insecticide. You see this bug destroyer. So it doesn't even have glyphosate in it. There are 35 different types of Roundup brand products registered in Washington State. So here's your original weed and grass killer, but now here's one that's ivy and brush killer. So that's not grasses anymore, but that's a broadleaf. So it has a little different composition in its active ingredient. So just be very careful when you're suggesting a name, use that whole brand name. Roundup for lawn bug destroyer. So there's no issues and mistakes that they used the wrong product because they just gave that more chemical brand name. It's a very common issue. But the safest thing is just to call it, use a glyphosate product and start navigating them from that perspective. So similarly named products can also have different rates, application restrictions, formulations, because the chemical company has that label and that's their marketing tool. So they're trying to market a different area. So that's why they take those brand names and kind of change them up a little bit. So definitely something to be cognizant of. There's also, when is a crab apple an ornamental apple? And when is it an edible apple? Well, it really depends. So in home and garden realm, crab apple versus flowering apple comes up. Now, if flowering apple is used and it is implied that the product is not for use on a consumable crop, so think of a flowering pear or flowering cherry, some labels list apple. So does that include flowering apple for a site? So it can be very confusing. So we've reached out to Washington State Department of Agriculture and learned that it really depends on what the label allows you to do. So in this case, they said it's okay for use on apples and ornamental as the label covers fruits, such as apples, on the cover of the label. This one's okay for listed edible crops, apples, for ornamentals on any site or location. So it's a lot more generalized. This one is no crop or fruit for consumption mentioned on the label. So it'd only be for those flowering trees but no consumption. So it really is important to read and follow that label. It's my favorite thing to always say, read and follow that label. Here's one where they have, you can use it on root and tuber vegetables. So crop groups are established when residue data, so how much pesticide is on that product, and then once it becomes safe for consumption for certain representative crops, and are used to establish pesticide tolerances for those groups and crops that are botanically or taxonomically related. So representatives of crop groups or subgroups are those crops whose residue data can be established for a tolerance for the entire group. So a crop group for beets, so for this crop group, if this crop group was on the label, it's okay for beetroot. But if this crop group was on the label, this says leaves of tuber roots and tuber vegetables for human or animal feed consumption. So they're talking about the leaves now. So this would not be allowed for a beet root. Once again, looking at that. So why use pickle or any other resources going to talk to you about a pesticide label? It's very important to read that label before purchase. I'm really big on that. A lot of people are going to Amazon and buying these deals on Amazon where they get 2 big jugs and then they come to their house. I see my neighbor all the time with their big jug spraying their one little line across, it's terrible. So it's a big issue across the United States where people are going on Amazon, purchasing a product. Sometimes it's not even allowed in their state. Washington's pretty restrictive about that, but also other times they get these huge jugs that they don't need. They need the smaller ones you can get your local retail store. So read the labels before you purchase, before you use, and then if you need to stock up on personal protective equipment. Do you need gloves in order to use that product? Oh, so when I go to buy that product, I should also buy the gloves. So search for the right product for your site. That site has to be on the label. Ornamentals has to be on that label. Crabapple has to be on that label. Beets have to be on the label. Or find the right product for your pest. Build that resistance management if needed. So read the label, read the label, read the label. Follow the label and understand your label. So with that, I can open up for any questions. I hope that's what you're looking for. If not, let me know and I can talk some more.
Wendy, this is brilliant, and it's hugely appreciated given the time constraints that you're under and so forth and the resources. And by the way, what a great explanation of pickle. I mean, this because this, I think we all have a decent understanding of pest sense and horse sense, but your deep dive into the search capabilities of pickle was especially fascinating for myself.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, and we hope with the new pickle that it will be a lot more user-friendly. If there's anybody who's used pickle, please contact us and let us know. Right now is the time to change that to make it more user-friendly for you.
And I just checked, it's actually decent on a mobile device. It's decent on your phone.
Yep, they are making it to where it is definitely mobile friendly as well. So it's a little harder to search on the mobile phone. You can do it, and I do it, but sometimes the search functions it's hard to pick that up. So with
and you can appreciate for us as master gardeners, if we're in a plant clinic situation, right, we're using our phones now, right, as the key reference. So
excellent.
I was just
that's good to know. Go ahead.
I want to make sure. So what are the common missteps that that you see people making that we as master gardeners want to make sure that we are quick to alert the public on? And perhaps the first one is what you just mentioned, is that we just go to Amazon now, right, for everything. And perhaps we're not at all discriminating as to the Washington state requirements or the particular requirements of the species that we're trying to work with here. Are there other major concerns, big problems you see happening in the home environment that we want to be on the watch for?
In the home environment, that crabapple one definitely comes up a lot. Through the HortSense, Pest Sense review and other people that we hear from, just making sure that you are using it on the crop. And sometimes that crop can be very ambiguous. It'll be very open and broad. So it'll say use on ornamental, but as you read the label, it has some restrictions. So one of the biggest issues that people have with reading a label is they don't read and follow the entire label. So I'll give you an example. You may have a label that says for use on vegetable crops. So they say, that's great, I can use it on my vegetable crop, and they use it on their vegetable crop. But if they don't look in the vegetable crop section, which you hope they would, but sometimes they don't. I mean, I'm a homeowner, my husband's a homeowner. I get a lot of examples of what to do and not to do from my husband or my neighbors. But in using a pesticide product on a commodity, that commodity now has a tolerance on it. So that tolerance varies from commodity to commodity, or from apples, oranges, pears, because it takes the pesticide different amount of time to break down to where it's safe for consumption, for human consumption. So if they only read the very basic of that label, or they read, oh, I should pull up, I'll pull up something for you. They don't read the full label, they're not going to see some restrictions that could impact them. So in the case of the consumed, they may see that they can use it on carrots, and they go ahead and use it on carrots, but they didn't see the print that said that you have to wait so many days after spraying that product before you can consume the carrot. So that's a big issue. Reading the label really is. So another one may be that you want to use it on your ornamentals in the backyard, and you spray your ornamentals, you see the label has ornamentals on it, and then you read right underneath it, it tells you how much to use, and you go ahead and use that. But when you spray that backyard in the ornamentals, you have an ornamental pond, and you didn't see below where the rate was the restrictions that said do not apply in fish-bearing waters. So what have you done to the koi that have been in that pond for so many years? You've now potentially impacted them with that pesticide application. So that's very common. There's another one. There's 3 that I teach in pre-license that would be applicable. But reading that label and reading through the entire section to make sure that you can meet all the requirements, I see is the biggest issue. And Washington State Department of Agriculture sees as well.
I have to admit, are there requirements in your role as in your oversight role in terms of the point size of the label text? I mean, it's getting, some of the label text is getting pretty small.
And it's going to get worse because they're adding so many more restrictions. We have the endangered species restrictions that are coming on. We're having a lot of labels that are now, they have the bilingual labels that are coming out. So having that Spanish, not necessarily language, but a website to connect to that language. So it is it's frustrating. I mean, I used to have to read through every label that I was reviewing at Department of Agriculture and highlight any changes on that label. So I am very familiar with that very tiny text. As a matter of fact, our program this year is giving out these little magnifying glasses to people that come to our pre-license course. So you can actually read that label, because some people that take the exam can't read the label. It's too small of language or too small a text. So,
you know, and probably just the fact of adding that magnifying glass in as part of your class materials reinforces the importance of reading everything on that label.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions, comments for Wendy?
What a great group.
Questions or comments? I mean, it's almost terrifying, Wendy, to think about, you know, that I have this urge now to check every pesticide in the garage right now to say, oh my God, you know, what am I doing? Jude, you have your hand up.
Yeah, you mentioned endangered species is now coming into play on what's on the label. Can you give us an example?
So here in Washington State, it is currently impacting agricultural crops in particular. So we're one of the few states across the nation that now has an actual statement on it that takes an additional step for applicators. We won't see that in the homeowner realm right away, but what's happening with the endangered species is the Endangered Species Act came into effect when FIFRA came into effect. So FIFRA is the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. So that governs what we see on labels. At that same time, endangered species and how it impacts anything came into effect. So they've been working on many years on how they're going to work on the actual impacts to endangered species and on the pesticide label. So due to lawsuits, they've now come into alignment with, and this isn't just the Environmental Protection Agency, but all these agencies trying to come together to work on endangered species and minimizing impacts to pesticides. So there's already mitigation measures out there. If you have a label and it impacts something, as they look at that label, they put mitigation measures. So you cannot use this where it's going to impact endangered species. You cannot use this product where it's going to get into the groundwater. So with endangered species, now that they have this website that you have to go to. So on the label, it says you must go to this website, click on that link, look at the area that you're doing your control in. And if it falls into what's called a PULA, so a pesticide use limitation area, then you must go to this other section and find a mitigation measure to put into place to make sure that that pesticide's not going to impact an endangered species. So in the case of an agricultural crop, it may be that you have to put a buffer. It may be that so you can't spray the pesticide anywhere within 400 feet of that endangered species. It may be that you have to do it downwind, make sure that that pesticide drift is downwind. It's very complex, and it's a huge step to take before you even apply your pesticide. So it's something that could potentially impact homeowners in the future, but right now it's impacting your chemical crops. That's what they're focusing on because that's the big use.
Karen, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to thank Wendy for such a fantastic presentation and so concise and so much information.
Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate it. Any way that I can help master gardeners, I like I said, you're near and dear to my heart, and one day I hope to be a master gardener. So,
Mike, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it'll be great.
With all the hundreds of new laws that were just passed in Washington State, what's brewing on the horizon that's going to cause a lot of grief?
There's been the endangered species, definitely. This is a pivotal time for use of pesticides in Washington State and the nation. We've had changes to the Endangered Species Act. We're now putting bilingual labeling language on the labels. By 2025, there's going to be a lot of labels with information on it. There's certification and training and how you're going to be a license, whether you're a licensed applicator, and now that's also going to start impacting non-licensed applicators. Right now that they're under, I as a licensed applicator can have someone work under me, but now there's going to be some new laws about someone who's not licensed but around pesticides that will impact what's going on here in Washington State. There's changes to use of neonicotinoid pesticides in your residential areas. There's restriction with that. It's going to be that you have to be a licensed applicator in order to apply that product. So there are lots of changes. When I was first hired with the Pacific County Noxious Weed Control Board to control Spartina in Willapa Bay, my job was to look at all of the different restrictions that were there and what we needed to apply for. So I had to apply for a shoreline project approval permit because I was changing the shoreline. I had to apply for a hydraulic project approval with the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife because I was impacting wildlife as I was walking out to control Spartina. I had to apply for the ecology permit in water. So there's a lot of responsibility applying pesticides in Washington State. So definitely keep up. We're going to try to update our resources website to be more beneficial to changes that are coming down and quicker changes. I'm working with a person right now to have that and have people where they can sign up and get information about what's coming down the pike with pesticides. So keep looking at our website to have information.
pleased that you mentioned your time here in Pacific County, because I followed in your footsteps, right? And so many an hour with the my glyphosate imazapyr backpack strapped to my wandering through the marshes, getting after that Spartina. You're aware, of course, it's a great success, right? We have we're down to individual plants now we're looking at.
I'm so excited. I'm very passionate about that. And I still to this day follow what's going on with Spartina. So
Aaron, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if there are label considerations or resources on pet and livestock safety with pesticides.
So I would definitely, first off, that would be on the label if there was an impact, but InPick is a great resource for that. So most of the time for your homeowner products, you'll see that, so there are, when EPA looks at pesticides in Washington State Department of Agriculture, they're looking at two things: impact to human health and impact to the environment. So with that, if there's an impact, then there's mitigation measures on that label. So a lot of time with the homeowner products, you'll see that it's safe for people to go back in or your pets to go back in once that spray has dried or the dust has settled. And if there's more impacts, then there would be more language on there. Do not enter this area treated within 4 days, because that pesticide is breaking down and not safe to work on. So
I wanted to put up, Wendy, to your support. This is the NPIC slide regarding label, what's on the label there. And Aaron, to your point, I was impressed by the fact that the label does give a phone number, right? that can be used for a reach out, right? For more information.
Yeah, NPIC answers a lot of questions about someone has sprayed a pesticide, or I've sprayed a pesticide. Is it going to impact my dog? Is it going to impact my cat? Is it going to impact the birds? And that's what they're there for, and that's what they have the strength to answer. They definitely are an excellent resource.
But that's a follow-up question then. So do the signal words on the label, do they refer to toxicity only to humans, right? Not to other animals?
That is correct. So I call the signal words the wake up and pay attention. So they are acute toxicity. So toxicity that happened within 24 hours that impacts human health, whether it's 4 different areas: the eyes, inhalation breathing, your lungs, and your dermal, your skin. So other areas of concern are dealt with by other tests and other parts of the registration process. Your signal words are definitely for your health. So
other questions, comments for Wendy Sue? This is an incredible amount of information. And of course, just a preview of Saturday's training, right, Mike? And it's so important because it goes back again. Wendy's is part of the, we are besieged by clients who approach us at plant clinics, right? And the first thing they're asking is, hey, what can I spray to solve my problems, right? They don't want to think about IPM, right? If indeed they're aware even of the concept, they're looking for that quick solution. And they're looking for what Home Depot, might be offering, and of course they're picking it up based upon a brand name and no consideration at all of what's on the label.
Right. It's critical. You guys play such a critical role. And if there's any way that our program can support that, let me know. It's true.
Other questions, comments for Wendy? We want to let her get back to her board meeting, which I hope is we're so appreciative of you exiting out of that to be able to join us here. This is a huge, huge win.
I was so thankful they gave me a place to talk. I didn't have to sit out in my car to give the talk. So that was a win. But I parked in the shade just in case. And I'm a resource for you all. So let me put my information in the chat, please, at any time.
And I have it in the slide deck that'll be recorded. And and Wendy, the great news about these recordings, indeed, they're viewed by another 30 to 40 people afterwards. So it's just, there's quite a bit of visibility that this presentation will be getting to us at a very important time, of the year, given that the work we have here. So again, in the chat is Wendy's email and her phone number. So it's not often you have this direct access to the key person, here in the state. thank you so very much for making yourself available and for the service you're providing, obviously, because it's hugely important, not just to the health of our plants and our gardens, but obviously to the overall ecosystem that into which we are all living. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your dedication to help landowners or private or to homeowners make better decisions about what they're doing. That's great. And be a resource to help them know what they are, because the most important first step at IPM is identifying that pest. So thank you very much for your commitment and dedication, and have a great day.
Thanks, Wendy.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so anything else for today? Anything else for the good of the order? You guys are troopers. You've hung in there for nearly 2 hours. Lots of updates today and lots of things happening even in June. With that, everyone take good care. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the week. Let's all prepare for and participate in a very exciting training this Saturday. Goodbye, all.
Bye, Kelly.